Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by Bet365 with myself, Kate Tracy, alongside Dave Young and Andrew Mount to look ahead to Saturday's racing from Ascot and York. Plenty to go out. Of course, we had the mixed card last weekend from Market Raisin, Newbury, the Curragh and all over. The lads did well, despite having to turn their attentions back to the jumps again, because in the 205 at Market Raisin, Dave advised Brueghel at 11-1 on the show, who won at 15-8 in the end. But we will give you the 11-1, Dave, for sure. In the 240 at Market Raisin, Andrew napped Cavern Club, who won at 8-1 with his second selection, Kihava, placing second to provide a 50-1 forecast. And Dave, not to be missing out on this, Nibras Gold finished third at 11-1. So did anyone have that trifecta? It paid £901. In the 312 at Market Raisin, Dave tipped up Ballysack's Hank for Gavin Cromwell and Harry Cobden in the Summer Plate, who was another well-backed winner with an SP of 9-4. In the 330 at Newbury, Dave suggested Anathelia, who won at a short head at 6-1. And in the 340 at the Curragh, Andrew couldn't see past Mini Hawk. That made perfect sense. Dave had a run for his money with We Might Take the Long Way Each Way, who put Mini Hawk up to it but had to settle for second place. Well done, lads. Leave the jumps brain to one side, though, because we are back fully to the flat again with Ascot and York to look at. So we begin with the 140 at Ascot. This is the Group 3 Princess Margaret Stakes for the 2-year-olds over 6 furlongs. Dave, do you want to go first?
Yeah, more than happy to. We're not completely leaving the jump stuff because Galway's on next week, so I'll give that a mention right at the top of the show.
And we've got the jump jockeys Nunthorpe as well.
Of course, today, exactly. So... We're not fully shelving it, are we? These lot going over a blistering fight. Goodness me.
Absolutely, but we do kick off with the Princess Margaret Stakes Group 3 over 6 furlong. It's not going to see any jump horses in here, are we? There's not a whole bunch of form to go on for the current favourite, Dance to the Music. Hasn't been seen for 10 weeks after she won first time up. She looked really green, but I also thought she looked really small as a horse. So as much as, greenness can be a sign that there's lots of improvement to come, I wasn't really taken with what she did that first time up. And for all that I can respect her, like being towards the head of the market in here, she's 15-8. It's a ridiculously bad price as far as I'm concerned. But the boys in blue would know far more than I do about it. We've got some Royal Ascot form on show here, haven't we? Where Stayer and Flowerhead both run against each other. There's a couple of others that run in the race too. But I think Flowerhead, despite the fact that she was 100-1 in that last race, which I think has been factored a bit into her price here, she's 15-2 at the time of recording, with 4 places up for grabs with Bet365. So well done them with it being 11 runners. But she did best of the far side, and she didn't just do the best of the far side, she battered the far side by like a long way, so much so that you feel if she was drawn on the near side, she would have won the race. Sometimes you see horses winning in their group, and then you think if they came to the other side, maybe they'd win. But it does depend how much distance they put between them, in my perspective. I think that this, it's her first try at 6 furlongs, and it's an unknown. It'll be the same for Stayer as well, the second favourite in here. But the way that she finished, and she was really strong at the line at Ascot, I would suggest 6 furlongs could probably see her even in a better light. So like I say, the 15-2 with 4 places up for grabs looks a stonking bet in here. I do respect Dance to the Music, but like I say, despite her being green and like I said, there's improvement, she looked really small as well. So happy to be proven wrong if she's an absolute weapon. We've got the concession with extra places there if Flowerhead does finish second to her, but I think Flowerhead's going to get well supported in this race. So 15-2 looks very good.
Yeah, 15-2, and as you say, with 4 places on offer as well with Bet365. So taking on those that are ahead of the market is Dave. Andrew, were you thinking along similar lines?
No, I'm thinking along exactly the same lines. Yeah, good stats rate this one. 4th or worse last time out, 0 from 24 in the last 10 years. So that's a bit of a worry for a few of these. January, February foaling dates have done well. 8 wins from 42 runners since 2010 for a profit of 35 quid. And a new market prep has been quite useful as well. 10 of the last 15. Betting all 44 runners gives you a profit of £31.16. However, 6 of those prepped in Group Company, the Duchess of Cambridge. We don't have any runners from that race this time around. Those who ran in the listed Empress Stakes, like a whole load of these did, are 0 from 11. So I don't think that new market stat is exactly going to be held up this year. Queen Mary runners are 0 from 10 since 2010, although most were big prices, and we did have a close second at 22-1 last year in the shape of Beck and Clover. I'm going with the Queen Mary form. One of my regular systems is to back any horse who ran in the Queen Mary when drawn in stalls 1 to 12 next time out. Because what's generally happened in the Queen Mary in recent years is the high draws of hard sway. That was the case this time around. As Dave said, Flowerhead won the race on the far side. When he was it wasn't she wasn't without a chance in that race, despite going off at 100 to 1. Sam Turner, one of our ex-GG colleagues, tipped her up based on the time she recorded when winning at Chepstow on her second run. And plenty of horses have come out and won since from the Queen Mary, who were drawn low. So I think she's going to run a big race. It was, the poorly drawn 5th and 9th both won next time out. So Flowerhead for me. And there was another poorly drawn horse from the Queen Mary, the 7th Eskimo Pie, who did 3rd best at the far side bunch. Now, Flowerhead's 15 to 2, Eskimo Pie 12 to 1 with Bet365, who are very generously offering that 4th place. That's massive in terms of each way value in this race. So I think you've got to back the pair each way and have a lean up with Flowerhead. When this video goes out, that 15 to 2 will probably be gone. But if you can get 5 to 1 or bigger, I'd still go for it.
Still go for it then, but do watch out for that. We are time stamping this. It's just gone 2 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon, and Flowerhead is currently at 15 to 2, so expecting that price to contract somewhat, but also Eskimo Pie in there at 12 to 1. So in agreement in large parts there for the lads in our opening contest. We switch up north now to York for the 2 o'clock, 0 to 105 dash handicap. Dash, it's over 6 furlongs.
We've had this discussion before.
Yeah,
I think,
dash, is it?
Yeah, I think I staged a dirty protest in this race last year, so I'm not going to discuss it because it's not 5 furlongs. You can't call a dash a 6 furlong race a dash. But I've got over that since. I've calmed down. So we'll discuss it in detail. One important aspect of this race has been course form. Now, 9 of the last 10 winners had won or placed at York before. The exception was back in 2015 when Tanzil won, who was making his course debut. And 8 of the last 9 were trained in the north, 6 of them in Yorkshire. The exception was last year's winner, Rage of Bambi, winner of the Group 3 Hackwood Stakes, because at a big price last week, after which Eve Johnson-Horton said that it was the time of year regarding the improvement from that one. And obviously that's the second win in the in sort of mid to late July. Now, the first 6 home last year had all beaten 60% or more of their rivals when running at York previously, similar for like the last several years. So there's a few horses here I'd want to be against who perhaps haven't got the York form, like Orn, Alzahir, King's Call, Rousing Encore, and Sophia's Starlight. We've got a couple who are unbeaten at York, Jubilee Walk and Jungle Drums. And the ones I'm sort of coming down, or the one I'm going to come down the side of, despite being trained down south, is Jubilee Walk, who was best of the closes when 3rd to Alzahir at Chester last time out. Also raced wide that day. That form's been advertised. Pocklington I wasn't hugely keen on, despite putting him up last time based on the balance of his York form. Caburn was semi-interesting, being a switcher to the James Tate yard. That's a profitable angle. But as well as Jubilee Walk, the one I'm going to have a little bit on is Jordan Electrics, despite the lack of a recent outing. Now, Jordan Electrics is a horse I put up. It was in one of the big races at the Ebor meeting, along with the winner JM Jungle last year. Jordan Electrics ran second by 3/4 of a length, as he had done in his only other York outing. So 2 close seconds and 2 runs at York. He might need this reappearance run. You have to go back to, I think, 2020 to find the last time he ran well in his seasonal debut. He's got a really good record 2nd and 3rd time out. It might be a case of he will need this, and then we'll see him rock up at the Ebor meeting again. But it ran about, I think it's 25 or 28 to 1, something like that. I think I'd want to have a small saver on him just in case. But I'll make Jubilee Walk the main play here.
Jubilee Walk is the main play, but a good shout then for Jordan Electrics, down to 20 to 1. But of course, with Bet365, there are 6 places on offer here. So loads and loads to go at. Very, very generous indeed. So you are definitely allowed the 2 plays. Jubilee Walk at 7 to 1 as well. Dave, you're also allowed 2 if you want.
I don't know if I want to be honest with you. I'd rather skip this race and crack on. There's 22 runners in here and 6 furlong races, and even in the past in this, I don't think we've ever had 22 runners in this race. I don't know when they've changed the max field size of this, but typically it tends to be in and around a dozen horses, but it still does favour those that are drawn low. Elman Jed's a horse that just gets talked about all the time, doesn't he? Because he's got pieces of form that make him look like he's running well, and he's got potential to actually go and win some races. Even if you go to his early season form behind More Thunder and Aram Ram this season, it shows he's still mixing it with progressive horses. No change of headgear on there. He has won here before, isn't he? And for given he's like a bit of a quirky horse, his 2 wins came in a 16-runner field and a 19-runner field. So I don't know, you'd think a type of horse like him, maybe a bigger field would be more of a hindrance, but maybe he likes the idea of passing more horses. I don't know, he's taking souls on his way through to the line. So I like Elmanjed. I don't think I can make a strong enough case for him at 11-2 to think he's got like a real winning chance in here, but he is one of those for sort of your each way doubles and things. I feel like 6 places up for grabs, which is generous for Bet365, would look like he's a horse you could stick in each way doubles, but I've ticked him up enough times when he's got beat. We'll leave him alone. With him, though, there's a big line of form where he won in that last race last year, where he beat Strike Red, it was, by 3/4 of a length. And that horse has now got a £9 swing with Elmanjed. I talk about Elmanjed being in all right form this season coming into this. That's why he's the price that he is. But Strike Red's 9-1. I think the top price that was out there earlier was 10-1 with Bet365 as well. So it's been a little nibble, but it's just the sort of price it should be. Might not be in the best form this season, but a couple of times bumped into Ferris on the all-weather, then didn't get a clear run again on the all-weather before, but has got course form here. I think he's won over course and distance, and that was actually his last win. So I think with the fact that he's got that big swing with Elmanjed and the fact I do like Elmanjed as a horse, I think Strike Red's a horse that I'd want to play in here. The thing that does annoy me is he's drawn in 20, so I don't want to be that high with him, but he's a horse that I looked at before the draws came out and thought, if he got a low draw, I'd be quite keen on him. The fact that he's got a high draw doesn't completely put me off because there are 6 places up for grabs, but it would be a lukewarm selection on Strike Red for all that. If you'd have had a better draw, I'd have fancied him quite strongly.
At 9-1, but yeah, drawn out in store 20 here. It's always the way, isn't it? When you're interested in a horse and you think, well, as long as they just have this draw on this side to, deal with the bias that we've seen previously, and then they go and get the complete opposite. And you're like, well, what do I do now? I've done all this work on this horse, but Strike Red.
Strike Red will probably win because I put him up as bet in the Stewards Scottish Stewards Cup the other week. And after which, when he ran 6, I decided I'm not backing any more Richard Farty horses this season. Mr. 6% strike rate can go in the bin. So that's my late New Year's resolution this year. So expect Strike Reds to bolt up now.
Your flat season, just and then Mo that you're going with for this season is to stop backing them. So Q Strike Red going and bolting up. Right, the 220 now at Ascot. This is for Group 3 Valiant Stakes for the fillies and mares. 3 years and over a mile. Chantilly lace. Why do we say Chantilly when we talk about Chantilly, but then we say Chantilly for everything else? Chantilly lace though at 3-1 heading the way. There is our old friend Royal Dress, second in the betting at 5-1 along with Cajole. So Dave, back to you please.
Yeah, tricky looking race this one. I tell you what is tricky. Maybe I'm overlooking something ridiculously, but how was Royal Dress not got a £3 penalty when she won a Group 3, didn't she, at the Curragh last summer? I don't see a timestamp on there. I don't know why that's carrying 9.5. Should be carrying 9.8 maybe.
This is when my brain starts to fudge when it comes to racing. So I'm glad that you spotted that because I don't.
I mean, there could be something in it. I could be wrong, but it's happened in the past where they've been updated and they re-established the way it's saying that it's got. So I think Royal Dress. I think Royal Dress has to carry a £3 penalty in here, but it's one of these where it is fillies and mares race where, like I say, penalties should be carried in here. So I'm a bit lukewarm why that one's not on there. But I'm doing the race as though it is carrying the £3. So if it's not, then she's £3 well in. But still doesn't make a difference the way I'm looking at this one, because Chantilly Lace was a heavy ground winner as a 2-year-old. She's only had the 3 runs, hasn't she? Twice 5th in Group 1s this season, which might not sound that phenomenal, but it's the 1,000 guineas she's won in there. And then after, when she's racing, she's come 5th again. The form of the horses that she's beaten, she's got Flight and Simran that was 2nd and 3rd in the Guineas that she's absolutely battered when she went and ran at Ascot in the Coronation Stakes. This is nowhere near the standard of the Group 1s that she's running there. And I think her 1,000 Guineas run maybe doesn't look as good now because I don't think the form's been as well advertised since. But at the time, it's still a very good performance for her 2nd ever start. I think what she did at Ascot was much better than what she did in the 1,000 Guineas, even though she's been given a similar RPR for it. She actually got dropped a couple of pounds from her official rating of 108 down to 106, which is mad, I think, considering she's only been beaten a few lengths against some very good horses. I think she's just the one that's on the steepest upward curve in here. maybe lacked to turn a foot in those Group 1s against the last couple of horses, especially the last day at Ascot. She just looked like she wasn't quite a Group 1 horse, but I'd say she's not quite a Group 1 horse yet. She's lightly raced. This is an easier task. It's Group 3. She's obviously shown that she liked it round Ascot anyway, so I think she deserves to be favourite. 3-1 about her looks fair enough to me. Like I say, I do believe that Royal Dress should have a penalty in it, but it wouldn't make a difference to how I'd bet that horse. Last time when she won in the listed race at Pontefract, I was a bit annoyed that I wasn't sort of all over her because she looked like the type of race for her to go and win. But regardless of any of those factors in there anyway, Chantilly Lace at 3-1 looks like a relatively good bet, but I wouldn't be getting so strong in a Fillies and Mares Group 3, I don't think.
There you go then. Yeah, 4 places on offer just out of interest for this Group 3 contest, but not needed for Dave with Chantilly Lace. However, we're saying it 3-1 heading the way. Andrew, your old mate's in here, Royal Dress. You sticking with her or abandoning her?
I'm abandoning her. Easy for me to say, because she's only had a rest of 18 days since that easy Pontefract win. When she's been returned to the track with 30 days or sooner since her last run, she's lost all 10 starts. When she's been off the track for 31 days or longer, she's 5 wins from 8 starts, 5 from 7 below Group 2 companies. So she's in the right grade, just about. But I think this is going to come too soon, so I'll reluctantly take her on. I thought Chantilly Lace had a good enough chance, obvious chance after that good performance in Group 1 company at Royal Ascot. But the 2 I'm going to side with are Lulu's Gift, whose record in fields of 9 or fewer runners is first, second by neck. If you look at official ratings, you say got a bit to do, but we've seen so many times William Haggis searching for black type with horses like this, and winning sort of like listed races at Sandown with fillies rated sort of 78 or something like that. So I think she's going to go well. I'll say, although Tom Marquand is on, he's not doing particularly well for Mr. Haggis this season, and massively underperforming based on the odds his horses are going off at. I see this one's already been well supported, 6-1 with Bet365, our sponsors. But the main one I want to play is Cheshire Dancer for Hugo Palmer at 25-1 with Bet365. Now, you could argue that she was a little bit flattered to finish second for Royal Dress last time out. There's a bit of a pace collapse in that Pontefract listed contest. The winner, the second, the third all came from midfield or further back, although the winner and third came from further back than she did. But I think the key to her is just a stiff track. She's got a fantastic record at the likes of Leicester, Newcastle, Beverley, Pontefract, Ascot, Sandown. 8 runs in total, 3 wins, 2 seconds, a third and a fourth. So I think she's going to. I think she's going to run a big race here. Hopefully, there's a decent pace on. I just think she'll do a usual thing, which is just to sort of stay on from the back and get into the frame. So 2 runs here at Ascot, produced a 20-1 third of 23 at Royal Ascot this year, behind Misinformation in the Kensington Palace Stakes, and a fourth of 11 at 15-2 in the Fillies handicap last season, only beaten 11 3/4. So I think she'll plough on, and hopefully that will be into the first 3 or 4.
Okay, and a big price as well, 25-1, 2 of the biggest price horses in the field, Cheshire Dancer and Sunfall. So nicely done, nicely played as well for what is.
No, the other one was Lulu's Gift.
Lulu's Gift, there you go then, and Lulu's Gift now into 6-1 as well. It's obviously a much bigger price than that, but interesting on the Tom Marquand William Haggis stats, considering the prices that these horses have been going off at. So maybe just take a note of that and watch out for that going forward, certainly on Saturday. Right, we switch up to York for the Group 2 York Stakes, 3-year-olds and over 10 furlongs. Hot pot in here at 5-6. Almacam it is, but then we've only got 7 runners to go at, Andrew, so it kind of gives us a bit of an icky feel to it. Or do we just play this favourite to win?
Yeah, fascinating race, given that Almacam's the Brigadier Gerard win over Ombudsman has obviously been well advertised. It won't put you off if you want to back him at a short price, but I'm going to throw a few quid at Certain Lad for Jack Shannon, who's a horse I've often mentioned on this show as one who likes smallish fields and cut in the ground. Ideally, you'd want a field of 7 or fewer runners and some cut. I thought he was going to get those conditions last week at Newbury, but they didn't water because of the forecast, and then the rain didn't arrive until too late, so they pulled him out. So on suitably fast ground. They did the same thing before at Royal Ascot last month. and in Germany as well at the start of June. So they've just been waiting for the ground with him. I know it's going to dry out the next couple of days at York, but hopefully it'll be genuinely good, or even with a bit of cut in it still. And they'll let him take his chance. And he's got a good record here at York as well. He's at so the last time he ran here, he won. That was back in October 2023 on soft ground in Handicap Company. He's won at the Ebor meeting as well in Group 3 Company in the Strensel Stakes several years ago. So I just thought, as a sort of without the favourite, or sort of small each way, you're not going to get an extra place here, but 20 to 1 or thereabouts, that second place might still be up for grabs.
Yeah, and a quarter of the odds each way as well for those 2 places at least on offer anyway. So yeah, 20 to 1, not a bad way to play this race at all with certain lad. Dave, how about you?
It's a bit of a tricky one, because I've just remember this race over the years that there's been lots of 3-year-olds that have been fancied, and I think the last one that won it was in 2006. But it's even like King's Gambit last year was relatively well fancied. We've had Mohafer, or was one of them, I can't remember the names of it, but the Shadwell horse for Jim Crowley a few years back, 2021, that was like a short price favourite, even odds on, that got beaten in this. So I mean, I know it's dependent on what the year is, but 3-year-olds have got a woeful record in this race, and we've got Al McCann at the front, who beat Ombudsman when Ombudsman was giving him weight because of carrying a penalty, but was still a very impressive performance, wasn't it? Who probably rightly heads the market. Then the next 3 in the betting are those 3-year-olds. So history should tell me to stay away from it. We have had 1 3-year-old winner, like I say, back in 2006, so maybe it could happen. We've got the 7 runners as well, so each way terms are only first 2. So it looks a really tricky bet in here, because I wouldn't want to steam into Al McCann at odds on. He deserves to be favoured, but he's not an odds on shot in my eye, for all that the 3-year-old stat puts me off a little bit. Stanhope Gardens was good in the Derby, wasn't he? And looks like the drop back to 10.5 furlong Teroomm 12 will massively suit. And I feel like the Derby form this year has already been very well advertised. The one that I sided with earlier, and I'm still happy to side with at the price, is Green Impact, though, for Jesse Arrington. Was 16 this morning when I was writing this stuff up at 11:45. Is, I think, 9 to 1 top price now, which I still think is very fair. A horse that ran behind Lambourne in the Irish Derby, but the Racing Post comments say the horse was outpaced. I think it like possibly was, but it was just a performance that looked like maybe they were just going a little bit too quick, which obviously would be an outpaced thing. But I don't think it's that he's got a lack of ability. I think he's fine. It was just maybe the Curragh didn't particularly suit him. He was beaten at the Curragh on debut as a 2-year-old, like in a maiden. So maybe it's just a track thing that made him look worse travelling than he actually was, but it was still a pretty decent effort. He's only 3 and a bit lengths behind a dual Derby winner. The time before he went into a listed race and he won that nicely, that was over 9 furlongs. Just looks like a horse that has got enough ability to suggest that of the 3-year-olds that are bunching here, I think he probably should be. I think he should be second favourite for this race. I think he's got better form than the other ones in there. You go back as well to the back end of last season. He beat Delacroix twice, didn't he, over a mile? I just think that this is a horse that's going to be more progressive through the season than some of the other ones. So while Stanhope Gardens and Bay City Roller have already done a bit as 3-year-olds this season, I think we haven't seen the best of Green Impact. And what Green Impact's done already looks pretty useful. On weight adjusted ratings as well, comes out on top. But I'm just a bit fearful for that 3-year-old record in this race to be too excited. But then at 9 to 1, given the fact that we can't really bet each way, even though there's 2 places up for grabs, if there was 3, I'd suggest him each way. I think he's worth a small little win dart just because he looks overpriced. And I suspect he'll get supported as well, because in the 1,000 guineas, when he ran behind Ruling Court, he was a bit supported. But then I think because I think the trainer came out and said that he was going to need the run, he went back out in the market. So it's almost like, not that they've been waiting for a time to punt the horse, but I think this is a dropping class down to a Group 2. It's the drop back in trip which he needs from the last run, but it's a step up on what he'd done before. I just think all the components are sat there for this horse to be very well fancied, and I think he'll go off a lot shorter. So Green Impact, but it's very much price related, and I think Al McCann is definitely the one to beat.
Yeah, the one to beat for sure, but Green Impact at 9 to 1. Looking at the betting without market is interesting though. Green Impact betting without the favourite at 9 to 2. Certain Lad 10 to 1 without Al McCann. At 6 to 1 then if you take out Al McCann and Stanhope Gardens for Certain Lad.
Yeah, I think that 10 to 1 appeals, because as Dave was saying, the 3-year-olds done have a great record. You go back to 2010, 9 have tried, all got beat. You'd have expected at least 2 winners from that. I mean, King's Gambit, as I said, was second last year, but was it Mo Harfeth, third at Wrist On, 5 to 4 on back in 2021, I think was the one you were looking at. So yeah, there's a few who've flopped at short prices. So that's an interesting angle. And Yeah, Dave's stat that I wasn't aware of certainly increased my confidence in certain lad there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, on that one, Kate, we'll change it just so it's clear for the viewers. The 9-2 without, I hadn't even thought about the without market. That looks a stonking price because I think he'll go off 9-2 or shorter for this race anyway. So we'll do 9-2 without if you can get it. If he tightens up, then we'll just go for the win dart. But yeah, without looks like a good bet. So thanks for that, Kate.
Loads are no problem. That's what I'm here for, to be fair. And I love going through these alternative markets as well, different ways to play it. They're there for a reason. So why not utilize it?
Talking of alternative markets, what price is your test delivery to turn up during the recording today?
Oh, I was fried from that last week. I was fried. I was just like, I timed this beautifully, perfectly for my life. So it just arrives as soon as we're done and cleared off and whatever. And they were banging on the door. The worst part was that my Tesco delivery lady was there, and then there was an Amazon parcel guy behind her waiting. It was like a queue we had waiting outside the door then. So yeah, hopefully no one turns up today. But there you go. There's a shout out for Tesco and Amazon on a show that they don't sponsor or have anything to do with. But yeah, I should just be, my whole life should be sponsored by them all, to be honest. Right, should we move on to the international? The 3 o'clock at Ascot. Better had do, really. Heritage handicap, 3-year-olds and over 7 furlongs for specialist distance, as I say, time and time again. 5-1 the field that we've got to go at in this one. Aalto has now found himself heading the way here, been really well supported in from those massive early prices. I don't know who first priced this race up, but he was huge. Now into 5-1 for Ian Williams and William Buick, Dave. So how are you playing international?
Well, yeah, you've mentioned the horse is the one to be on, because Aalto was, I think, 13-2 for this race 12 months ago, having had the same prep in the Bunbury Cup. Won the Bunbury Cup last year, didn't he? And then got beat by More Thunder this year, although he pretty much won it, didn't he? It was like a real head bob, a close finish there. But the perk of him getting beat this year, he doesn't have to carry a winner's penalty going into here. So he's off, it was a £1 lower mark last year. He is technically £5 well in on his new revised mark, and like I say, isn't carrying the penalty. So yeah, everything points to Aalto being able to put in another big run. I think they've clearly trained him with redemption in mind for this race. Last year, if you go back and watch the replay, you could see the jockey almost cocking the horse's neck to pull him out to the left to try and get a gap. Just couldn't get any sort of space, but like was shut off for probably like a furlong and a half behind horses. And sometimes horses can get short of room, can't they? And you just think to themselves, well, they've got nowhere to go, or they could do something different. Honestly, this horse was proper jammed in it. So I can see why Aalto's favourite towards the front of it. I think he has just been like primed for redemption for this. So look, he is short enough, I suppose, at 5-1 at the top of the market now. But there are 6 places up for grabs. Even if he gets another unlucky passage, I can't see how he's out the frame. We've got horses like Classics in here, who obviously won at Sandown last time, getting back on the winning trail for the first time in a long time. I don't think he's the type of horse that's going to be like Busters is in. He's just going to keep winning. And I think there's going to be more challenges for the paces. So he's got a bit of a chance. But when he's like a 7-1 poke and Aalto's 5-1, I know which horse I'd rather side with. So look, I know he's favourite. 5-1, I still think is a fair enough price. And he'd be the sort of horse that I'd be quite happy to get royally stuck into, gamble responsibly, as an each-way bet.
As an each-way bet, then 5-1 about Aalto, who has been really heavily supported since the time of declarations. 6 places on offer, though, Andrew, for the each-way place in here. How did you want to play it?
Yeah, I'd respect the chance of Aalto. I think that 50-1 that was available was after his reappearance 9th last month, and then before his 40-1 second in the Bunbury Cup, after which his sort of price collapsed for this. So he's going to go around with William Buick up for the first time. Luke Morris was on board in this race last year. Acadian Thunder can usually be relied upon to run his race over a straight 7 furlongs. I'll put him up as an each-way bet, 7-1 into 3-1 in the Bunbury Cup, but he ran a bit of a stinker. Finished well out of the frame, although he did race on the far side when all the action transpired towards the Sandside rail. There's 2. I'm going to say this race, like the Northern Express won it. There was absolutely 0 pace in this race last year, and Northern Express on the far side was given pretty much a solo. I'm not sure that's going to happen again. As Dave mentioned, Classic tends to go from the front. I'm not convinced that Classic can reproduce his Sandown form at Ascot. I think 4 of his 5 best runs have come at Sandown, another at Newmarket. So I'd worry about that. And yeah, I mean, generally speaking, in this race, the last 10 winners have all prepped in a Class 2 handicap. 9 of the 10 ran the Class 2 handicap last time out at Ascot or Newmarket. If you bet them all over the years, you'd have made a profit of £22. That statistic was sort of blown out the water last year when the 8 qualifiers one of the 8 qualifiers couldn't even get in the first 4. But I think that could be sort of again, reinstated this year if Aalto runs a big race. But if those are bigger prices, I'm very interested in City House for George Scott. Stable going really well. And he ran in a good 6 furlong handicap at Pontefract last time out, where it paid to be on the front end. And the winner, Ali's Dancer, who runs at York at the weekend, was sort of made the running that day. And the runner-up Badri was always prominent, whereas City House was drawn higher than the 4 who beat him. Finished 5th at 16 to 1. You know, towards rear, kept on final 110 yards. He did clear better to closers. I think he's going to run a big race here. Another one I was quite interested in, Cerulean Bay for David O'Mara. All wins have come from late June until late August. Never won in a big field, but could end up with a small group towards the far side. You know, perhaps a group of 8 or 9 runners, and did finish second or third in his second of 3 in the small group who raced on the far side at Royal Ascot. And the other fascinating one is Oliver Show for George Bowie. Now, he's a winner in first-time cheek pieces and a first-time tongue tie, and he wears blinkers for the first time in this race. The trainer won this for the first-time headgear horse 2 years ago, Baradar, who was in the cheek pieces. So, yeah, sort of City House, Cerulean Bay, Oliver Show. For the purpose of this video, I'll go City House each way, who is also in first-time headgear, but I do like that run at Pontefract last time out from off the pace.
20 to 1 as well about City House with that first time headgear combination, but you are allowed the 3 in here as well. Oliver Show and Cerulean Bay was the third one as well, wasn't it? So with 6 places on offer to go at for the each way play, that's not a bad old way to be playing the international. Right, onto the 320 now at York. This is the Jump Jockeys Nunthorpe Handicap 0 to 80 contest, 4-year-olds and over 5 furlongs. We are over the flying 5 furlongs this time round, much to the delight of these jump jockeys. This is honestly one of their favourite days. Every jump jockey I know tries to get a ride in this race. They absolutely love it, as if they don't get enough of an adrenaline kick as it is. They also want to partake in this. So, yeah, how do you even weigh this race up, Andrew?
Well, it's been a good draw race since it started in 2017. We didn't have a 2020 renewal. Well, not this time. I think they changed the time of year for it, perhaps because of COVID or whatever. But most of the winners have been drawn in single figures. We had a 5-year renewal in 2019 when 19 runners, the first 3 were drawn 18, 19 and 17. But the rest of the time you wanted it to be drawn 9 or lower. Paul Midgley's got a good record in the race as well. He won it with Birkenhead a few years ago at 25 to 1, ridden by Jonathan England, who was always prominent from stall 6 that day. And the pair joined forces again, coming out of stall 9. I looked at the pace among the low numbers, and it does only look to be Birkenhead from stall 9 and Caldeo from stall 6 for Ollie Pears and Brian Hughes. Brian Hughes got a poor record in this race, 7 rides. I don't think he's been in the first 6 from any of those. So, yeah, generally speaking, you're looking for early speed and a low draw. If you look at Proform's pace rankings, those in the top 4 in the pace rankings, drawn 9 or lower, you'd have found 5 of the 7 winners from 30 bets for a profit of £50, 50 pence. And Birkenhead certainly fits into that category. He's an each-way price. I think he's been nibbled at in the betting. Ran a good race at Ripon last time, finishing 3rd, only beaten a length, so that will put him spot on for this. And yeah, that was 18 days ago. I think all winners of this race had raced in the last 4 weeks as well. So I'll go Birkenhead each way, 14 to 1.
14 to 1, yeah, with 5 places on offer for the each way towns for this race. And Birkenhead it is for Andrew. Dave.
Yeah, it's a novelty race, really, isn't it? It's not really one to be getting too stuck into, but I do like to have an opinion on everything. Andrew's mentioned about Paul Midgley in there as well. I do like Birkenhead. I like Sam Twister Davis as a jockey as well, though. So American Bay was one that I think I could give a bit of a squeak for. Only had 1 run over 5 furlongs, which was the penultimate start, and that was a win. So the trip should be perfect. Sam Twister Davies will be nice and strong in the finish. But like Andrew said about the drawn in 14, which puts me off a bit. And again, like I said, it's a bit of a novelty race. But if you're betting against the draw bias on a novelty race, you're asking for a bit of trouble, aren't you? So cue the highest 3 stalls going and winning it. What is interesting, though, is that the 3 rank outsiders at the time of recording are drawn in stalls 1, 2, and 3. So there's one for your tricast and trifectas. But it was in looking at those ones that were drawn all the way down the bottom, or yeah, in the lower draws and down the bottom of the odds list. I think there's a stupid price about Looking for Lynda, which might sound a little bit mad given the fact that the horse refused to race a couple of starts ago, wore an eye shield for the first time last time, and more often than not just decides to dart about left, right and centre when it comes out the stalls, and hasn't really thrown in a winning performance for a long time. I think 2023, back end of September, was the last time the horse actually won a race, but it was at York and it was over 5 furlongs and it was on good ground. So the horse has changed yards from Carl Burke, and it stayed with the same owner. There was 2 owners. There was I can't remember the guy's first name, but it was someone Bardsley with Mrs. Burke. Now Mr. Bardsley owns the horse on his own, and they've taken it away from Carl Burke. It's been trained by Craig Lidster, and like I said, they've had that first run for the yard last time out after wind surgery, but they brought the horse back to York, so I feel like that's a bit of a familiarity thing. So there's a few little hints in here to suggest that this horse is sort of been targeted for this race, and they've got this in mind because it's still a nice race to go and win, right? Big Saturday race. The horse is on like a career low mark as well now of 78, and you go back to the end of last season, it's not that far when this horse was actually running decent form, like behind JM Jungle at this track, behind Shag Run as well. Andrew's already mentioned Jordan Electric from a little bit earlier, was behind that, or behind American Affair, and not too far behind those horses either. So as much as the last win was back in 2023, reasonable form from the back end of last season. A last win comes over, or his last win comes over course and distance, and you do just wonder with a horse that's quirky and a bit unruly out the stalls whether, and this is something that I wouldn't know too much about, but I wonder whether the strength of a jump jockey, for the fact that they can carry a bit more weight in themselves, that you'd think like a heavier person pound for pound would better lift more than a lighter person, or pound for pound they maybe wouldn't, but obviously they are heavier. I wonder whether that's what this horse needs, someone with a bit more of a firm grip, and I think Craig Nicol might be able to do that. And the 2 last runs where they've been maybe disastrous, the refuse to race was in first time blinkers, last time was a first time eye shield. The cheap pieces have gone back on this horse, so I just thought 33 to 1 about a horse in a race where you want to look for low draws, is drawn in the lowest, is off a career low mark, is a course and distance winner, and like I say, the back end of last season has got some decent form in class 2s, just looked an absolute price brick. But I'm aware that the horse is a bit of a head case. Maybe this is going to be the non-thought jump jockey's LeBake, and it's going to go in at a big price though, so I'll stick with Looking for Lynda.
The Nunthorpe jump jockeys LeBake. There you go then. 22 to 1 that I can see with BetMGM back over this course and distance that, as you say, did see his last win. I know, one of those names where, yeah, it's a man actually, Derek, to coin Tomo's most famous phrase of all, happy retirement, Tomo, as well, as we are here. We're going to miss all of the laughs and everything that you gave us. But yeah, Looking for Lynda, though, back to the race, is at 22 to 1. Right, back to Ascot now for the 3:35, 0 to 105 handicap, 3-year-olds and over 1 mile. 3 to 1 the field in this one. Bullet pointed is who heads the way, Dave.
Yeah, it's a hard race. I found this one. There's 17 runners in it. I think quite a few have got chances, and unfortunately, quite a few of them towards the front of the market look like they've got solid enough cases to make for them. William Haggis won this last year. A bullet point was only narrowly denied in the Royal Hunt Cup. £3 rise, I think, for that doesn't look like it's too bad. But he is the horse that's been climbing through the ranks. He was 74 at the back end of last season. But you know, you can get these horses where they just got the will to win and the rating doesn't matter too much. But I do just wonder whether his ceiling's been found now. So I think he's probably short enough at the front. Teroomm was a bit unlucky in the Britannia. There was no finishing ride really put into him by Sylvester de Souza, but was still well enough beaten and still didn't quicken when it did get in the clear, despite the jockey not asking to wonder whether it's a horse that's still well handicapped. But it's only going to be his 3rd handicap start, won his first one, and then that last one was in the Britannia. So happy to draw a line through Teroomm for that purpose. But again, like 11 to 2 is not exactly the biggest price. Fear Not also comes from that Britannia, but it's got up £5 as a consequence. Sisyphean ran really well last time when I put the horse up, and Ryan Moore now takes back the ride. His form from last time and his form from the first run this season puts him in the mix, but in between that, it wasn't at his best, and that was in that Royal Hunt Cup at Ascot. So like I don't know if his Ascot form's there. So I still look towards the head of the market. It would be a lukewarm selection, but I would just about stick with Teroomm for the fact that I'll forgive the run last time out and trust that this horse is on an upward curve. But it would be fool me once type scenario with Teroomm. If he goes and gets done here, then I'm ignoring him again.
Then ignore him again, then going forwards. Yeah, lots of trust issues in this race and just in general racing at present, isn't it? Andrew, what do you like?
Yeah, this race is sort of a bit of an odd one now, because it used to be a 3-year-old only handicap until 3 years ago when it was opened up to older horses. Since then, it's detracted from the international stakes over 7 furlongs earlier on the card, I think. And we saw a sort of smallish field of 18 runners for that race last year. And I think there's a lot of horses here who perhaps should be going for the international and running for 77 grand instead of 32 grand. Now, Bullet Point is the obvious one, having done best of the far side bunch when second in the Royal Hunt Cup last time out. Sisyphean also ran well from the front down the centre group in that race. So there's a possibility that pair could take each other on. So since this was opened up to older horses, all 3 winners were aged 4 or older. Only 5 3-year-olds have running that time, all getting beat. So it's obviously a small sample size, but it's interesting to see how the 3-year-olds will fare in this going forward. My instinct at the moment is to take, take them on, particularly the shorter price ones. I'm going to go for a hold-up horse, an older horse, likely to come from off the pace towards that near side rail. Hopefully, that's the place to be, and that's Mythical Guess. Now he's had 6 runs over a straight mile, and he's finished second or third in 5 of those 6 runs, bombed out completely in the other. No idea if there was an excuse for that, but I suspect there was. He was beaten 28 lengths. That was on his penultimate start at Newmarket, and he bounced back to finish third here at Ascot. So the 2 straight track runs at Ascot produced a second and third. He's an each way price. I think he's 20 to 1 or 20, 25 to 1 with Bet365. So if that high draw is advantageous, if they do go like the Clappers, which I'm hoping, then I think he can get in the first 3 or 4 here, Mythical Guest.
5 places on offer as well, 25 to 1 about Mythical Guest. Right, we move on to the big race itself. This is a Group 1, King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Stakes, 3-year-olds and over a mile for. Cannot wait for this. Perhaps it's not quite one of the vintage renewals that we've been seeing in recent years when you look down the roll of honour of winners for this race. A race I love because it doesn't matter what age, what gender, geldings, whatever, everyone's welcome. It's the best of the best. And we have the matchup between Calandagan and Jan Brueghel once again. Kalpana at 4 to 1. Rebels Romance does get the green light, 5 to 1, and 100 to 1 continuous as the outsider of the field. So Andrew, small King George that we have to go at this year, but we get the battle from Epsom once again between Calandagan and Jan Brueghel. Are you siding with one of those 2 or something else?
Well, I first must mention continuous. This is a great piece of placing because he's going to go off like a scalded cat and finish last to 5 and get 40,000 quid for his trouble. Yeah. So, well done there for connection. Yeah. Now, the interesting thing here for me is the first-time cheek pieces for Jan Brueghel from the Aidan O'Brien year. Now, I did look at the stats for Aidan O'Brien and first-time cheek pieces in Group 1 and Group 2 company. And since cheek pieces were recorded in Pro 4 from 2010, 0 from 38, which is a bit of a concern here. So, and it's Ascot, and we know it's an advantage to come from off the pace, even in sort of smallish fields. So I was looking at Calandagan, Kalpana, and Rebels Romance. Calandagan, never going to be out the first 2, is he? I think he's got to be the place pot banker. Good to see him get that Group 1 win last time out. I think I'd side with him over Jan Brueghel, but at the prices, I'm just going to go Kalpana. I know she was beaten last time out behind Whirl in Ireland, but coming back to 1.5 miles is going to suit her. She's hopefully going to have the race run to suit and just sit there and try and pounce late. But I can see Calandagan and Kalpana fighting this out. I'll probably play the pair in a reverse forecast and hope the cheek pieces aren't going to help Jan Brueghel.
Yeah, interesting with the first-time cheek pieces going on to Jan Brueghel here, isn't it? But Kalpana as the main play, but expecting to see her and Calandagan, the place spot banker, fighting out the finish. Calandagan in a fight isn't something you necessarily want to have your house on, Dave, by any means, but probably hence why Andrew's come down on Kalpana ultimately. What was your way to play it?
Yeah, it's a really hard one because I too looked at the stats. I only looked at the Group 1 stats. So of those 38 that Andrew's talked about since 2010, mine go back to 2013, but maybe he didn't have any before that in Group 1s. But yeah, he's 0 from 15, only 1 of them placed as well. So it's not as if they're just getting beaten. They're not very good. But I do still feel like with the headgear applications and things like that as well, like it is obviously a very positive stat for lots of trainers that use them well, especially in, I think, in handicaps and things. But every horse is a unique individual. Jan Brueghel's only ever been beaten once, and that was on seasonal reappearance this year. And if you watch what he did in that race, where he cocked his head during the race, you would have shouted at the trainer to say, put some bloody cheek pieces on him. They didn't at Epsom when he ran in the Coronation Cup. And I think a lot of people looked at that race, I did myself, thinking, well, this is a prep run for the King George because they're saving the cheek pieces for that. He still beat Calandagan in that race, and Calandagan, like you say in a finish, you wouldn't want to be with him, came to him, and Jan Brueghel pulled a bit more out. But that's just Jan Brueghel, isn't it? He's won neck when he won his Curragh race, then he won at Goodwood, then he won the St. Ledger at Doncaster. This horse is the definition of thou shalt not pass. Like, I think, I know Andrew says it, and it is correct that you want to be coming from off the pace in this type of race, but I think Jan Brueghel's an absolute monster. And I'm definitely really tempered with the first time cheek pieces. For all that I said after his Curragh run, let's get the cheek pieces on him. Because if he'd have had him at Epsom, I probably would have fancied him. Maybe he'd have won, maybe he wouldn't have done, but they would have found out what had happened. I just can't imagine they've waited for this race intentionally. Like, I feel like they must have done something with him beforehand. But then if I start to think that, maybe did they think he didn't work so well and they put him in at Epsom without him? Or were they just trying that to see how he goes? But obviously, if they try it and he wins, why are they putting the cheek pieces on? So I've definitely got in my own head about it. But you've talked about the fact that this isn't necessarily like the most vintage renewal when you look at the Roll of Honours list. The one horse that's in this race that potentially could be the absolute monster, like Kalpana, I do really love her, and we know she's got the Arc as a target. She could be a horse that's in the Roll of Honour that you think she'll come back and win this a couple of times, maybe a little Enable-esque. But Jan Brueghel of the boys is the one that could be an absolute monster. Like I say, he's 5 from 6. You look at him in his stakes races, he's 4 from 5. So he's got an 80% strike rate in these types of ones. And then Calandagan, for all that he's a good horse, he only did just get his first Group win last time out. And I don't want to be rude to the French racing, but it's a soft French Group 1 that he won rather than it being a proper one. I know this isn't necessarily the deepest Group 1, but the St. Ledger that Jan Brueghel won is much better, in my opinion. And I thought his Goodwood win last year, as much as he didn't win by very far, was very good because he was flat-footed. He had every reason to not win, and he just ground it out like a really good horse. So I'm definitely tempered in like how much I'd want to get stuck into Jan Brueghel. It'd be a much smaller stakes bet than, not that I'd like to do, but I just don't have the utmost confidence because he is one of those quirky horses. And if he throws the towel in, he throws the towel in, doesn't he? But I don't see it. I think this will be a phenomenal finish between Calandagan, Jan Brueghel, and Kalpana. But I can just see them coming to Jan Brueghel, and I can just see him going clear. And then imagine a scenario where the cheek pieces work and he doesn't get quirky and he just goes away from them. He's the type of horse that could win this by 10 lengths, I think. Or if the cheek pieces don't work, he could be well out the back. So I'm still siding with Jan Brueghel. Like I say, I'm tempered with the fact of those first-time cheek piece stats for Aidan O'Brien. They probably should be enough to deter me from having a bet on him, but I'm not going to do that. I'm buzzing to watch this race. I think it's one of the best competitive Group 1s in terms of fascination that we've seen this season. So Team Jan Brueghel.
Team Jan Brueghel, then it is in those first-time cheek pieces. I don't know what to do with that. Oh, it is. It's fascinating, isn't it? And the fact that Rebels Romance is 5-1 in here, like, feels like such an insult for a horse who has been so wonderful, such a superstar, now a 7-year-old. But I feel that in this country, we are just snobby to international form, no matter how good it is. And pleased to see that he's been able to show how good his form is around the world. Back on the domestic front, the last twice at York, and of course the Hardwick Stakes last time out. But he's at 5-1. Right, lads. Anything from anywhere else then? Dave, I'll go back to you. Anything from anywhere else?
No, nothing from anywhere else. But there's no 7-year-old winner of the King George, is there, Kate? So that's probably why his price is where he's at. And he's never won a domestic Group 1, has he? But I agree. He does look quite big in the depth of this field, doesn't he?
It's a good Group 2 on it though, the Hardwick, really. But I know that's the thing though, is that you want him to get that domestic Group 1, but yeah, it's not an easy one to be able to try and achieve that in. But what a wonderful horse he has been. Andrew, anything from anywhere else?
No, not had a chance to look yet.
No problem at all. Andrew, I'll go back to you please for your nap.
Yeah, we're going to go each way lucky 31 on Flowerhead, Cheshire Dancer, City House, Birkenhead, and Mythical Guest. I'll pay a few quid. I think I'm going to go City House in the International Stakes.
Oh, okay. Of all of the ones that you just mentioned, we're going to go City House then to nail down the nap. But I think you're allowed just lucky 31 then for your nap as well if you want. Make sure to note down all of those names. Dave, your own nap, please.
Yeah, I was toying with going for Aalto in the international, but given it is a big field handicap and he was unlucky in it last year, maybe he might be just unlucky again. So the nap this week will come in the Valiant Stakes, Chantilly, or however we want to say it, in the 220 at Ascot.
Perfect. About 3-1, if my memory serves me correctly as well. Chantilly lace, however we are playing it. Right, lads. Thank you so much to the pair of you two for all of your work as per usual. Big thank you to our sponsors, Bet365. A big thank you to you at home for watching. Best of luck with your bets this weekend, and we'll speak to you again next week.